Hey everyone, welcome to some of the best petty revenge stories. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called, Shouldn't Take My Spot. This happened a couple of years ago. It had snowed a bunch and so I went out to clear a spot for my boyfriend at the time for when he got home from work. I spent a while digging it out, and as I was finishing up, some girl drove up and parked in it while I was still shoveling it. I told her that I just dug it out intending to use it and asked her to move, but she didn't. She then got out of her car and walked away. Turns out, she lived 2 buildings down, so she normally wouldn't park there anyways. Our complex had a mini snow plow and the dude was plowing in the area and saw this all go down. He helped me move all the snow from the pile he just created and put it all around her car. We buried it up to the door handles on all sides. And then he dug out a new spot for me. Saw her later trying to dig out her car. Turns out she didn't have a shovel. So, naturally, because I'm petty, I went out and shoveled the sidewalk from the lot up to our building, and threw all of the snow on her vehicle while I did it. Then I went inside and took my shovel with me. The next story is called, Roommate Takes My Stuff. I don't mind when my roommates borrow my stuff, we've all been there. All I ask is that they replace what they take. You drink my milk? Just buy me a new milk. It's as simple as that. Unfortunately, my roommate doesn't seem to get this. She keeps taking my stuff, and when I ask her to please replace everything she takes, she'll buy one new thing and forget to do it the next time despite having more money than me. I finally snapped when I wanted to wash my clothes but only found an empty box that used to contain my washing powder. I don't buy fancy or expensive stuff and I don't care about brands. After using the last of my powder a week earlier, she could literally have bought the cheapest no-brand powder in the world and I would have been fine. I just snapped. I had told her over and over to not use my washing powder if she wasn't going to replace it, and I just had enough. I bought a new box of washing powder, some Dylan machine dye, mixed it with a bit of the washing powder, and dumped it into the old box. When the dye is dry, it looks like washing powder, especially if you're not expecting it. I took my new box of washing powder to my room and waited. A week later, I came home from work and saw her laundry hanging outside, all with a mysterious pink color. She stomped up to me and demanded to know what I had done. I told her I was going to dye my own clothes and someone had told me the shade would be lighter if I mixed it with powder. Then I asked her why she had used it when it had clearly been in a box with my name on it when I had told her not to use it because she never replaced it. I don't think she believed me, but she finally got the message. She almost never takes my stuff, and when she does, she's quick to replace it. The third story is called, They Wouldn't Help. I'm in a class where a group research project and presentation is a huge chunk of overall points. Everyone knows in group projects, you always have that one slacker who doesn't do anything that you have to compensate for. However, I got stuck with possibly the worst 3 people to be in a project within the class. I did the entire research, presentation, poster boards, and such, among many other annoying things myself. I tried talking to them and telling them they needed to put in their share of effort. They ignored it. I'd send them tasks to do, ignored. I'd try to schedule meetings, they'd say they were coming and then leave me alone at the library. This happened from the get-go. It was abundantly clear that they expected everyone else to do the work, but everyone else turned out to be just me. There was a rule set: we couldn't have things 100% memorized word for word, and we couldn't read off of anything. We had to actually know the subject. I was fully prepared to do most of the talking and even wrote down a small script for them and told them to know what to say during their part, at the very least. The night before, I told them we had to meet to at least go over the whole thing one time. Once again, none of them showed. At this point, I'm livid. I decided they can just do it themselves. This means they'd get up there, not know a thing to say other than the small info I gave them, and couldn't even make up anything because they did no research. Thing is, if we miss without an excuse, we fail the project. If you have an excuse, you have to have documentation. I commute and live an hour away, so I decide that I'll conveniently have a flat tire right before class. I went out and actually bought a tire so I could have the receipt to prove it. I emailed the professor, who said I can present by myself during his office hours. Turns out, they completely bombed, and not only probably failed the project, but since they are bad students, they might even make them fail the class. The professor stated at the beginning that we were not allowed to contact him about people slacking in the group, and said to work it out amongst ourselves. He said that we were adults and that he wouldn't even respond to emails about it. The next story is called, First Come First Serve. This may be the pettiest thing I have ever done. So, in my city, there is a pub that's attached to a donut shop that serves the best donuts in the city, which always causes a long line. Because it's attached to a pub, it doesn't close shop until 9 p.m. as there is a solid flow of business rolling in. Anyway, my girlfriend and I get a serious hankering for some snacks. So we decide to head to the donut shop and arrive out around 8:30 p.m. by car. Now, there are only 3 parallel parking spots a little up the street from the place, and they are all 15-minute spots, which are usually full. We see up the street that, count our lucky stars, a spot is free. My girlfriend pulls a little ahead of the car in front of the spot, turns on her indicator, and begins backing into the parking spot. But then this little white Vespa driving behind us whips into the spot. I roll down our window and call out to the driver, "Excuse me, we were just backing in." The driver seems to be a pretty university student who shrugs her shoulders and calls out to me, "Sorry, first come first serve." And she and her friend share a good laugh. My girlfriend suggests we just get donuts another time, and I tell her she can drop me off here. I'll buy the donuts since I know what she likes, and she can loop around. She agrees, and I pop out of the car, past the little white Vespa where the girls are still gathering their things, and head to the shop. As always, the line is super long for donuts, and since this is the last batch, the donuts are slim pickings. The girls are behind me looking at the 5 or so different flavors that are left, talking about which ones are best and which they haven't had yet. I hear one of them jokingly mention, "Thank God we got a parking spot," and they burst out laughing. I get to the front of the line, and when asked for my order, request 2 dozen donuts, which is every last one remaining. The girls behind me didn't listen to what I ordered, but eyebrows of confusion started to form on their faces, and they slowly saw each donut loaded into the boxes and their options dwindle. One of them, the driver, in desperation, asked the baker who was loading them in, "What, you're not even gonna save a few for us though?" To which I turned around and said, "Sorry, first come first serve." She honestly looked like she just simultaneously solved a movie mystery and cracked her pants. They were the best donuts I ever tasted and were enjoyed by the rest of my office the next morning. The last story is called, "Mother Doesn't Know Boundaries." So, I'm married to a wonderful woman. She's smart, funny and very kind. Her mother is generally very nice and tends to have a great attitude and is very enjoyable, a bit of a prude but generally enjoyable. However, she can be a bit of a major snoop. If my wife leaves her phone sitting around, she will just pick it up and start going through it. My wife has kind of laughed this off as a remnant of her mum being controlling when she was a kid. I'm not a fan of this because my wife and I will sometimes text about things that simply don't involve her mother, and I don't feel a he business at all. So over Christmas, I saw my wife set her phone down on the kitchen counter and I had a brilliant idea. Her mum was still in the kitchen and I sent my wife the most depraved text about all the things I was going to do to her when everyone left. Honestly, most of them are things we haven't even done, but I had to make it extra scarring. I sent this text from the bathroom. And maybe it was my imagination, but I could swear I could hear an audible gasp shortly after her phone went off. When I went out, her mother absolutely would not look me in the eye. Then she not so discreetly asked her daughter to come to talk to her in the other room. When my wife came back into the living room, I thought she had been crying. However, upon closer inspection, she was laughing. Her mother had questioned her about me and if I always talk down to her like that. My wife had told her kindly that what we do is between us and us only. Probably the best gift this Christmas. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.